Hi, I want to go over with you today just a little bit about how to find fish in current. I personally prefer to fish current because it concentrates the fish, if you know where to look for fish. And so this video kind of shows you where the fish are, where to look for fish, and then you kind of need to use your electronics. And then what we do is try to show you by dropping a camera down into these spots what it looks like. You know, they say 95% of the water is no good. In a river, it's probably a lot more than that. There's probably 2% or 1% of the water that actually holds active schools of fish. So this is a typical tail race. It's one that we had fished, and I just want to kind of go over the features in this and where to look. So first of all, on this side of the dam are floodgates, and on this side is the generation plant. So when we were fishing, the generation was open, and fishermen have to really be attuned to what's going on, and they have to really watch the current. And so the green is where the current was splitting around a sandbar. This sandbar was created basically because when the floodgates are open, there's a huge charge of water that comes in this direction, and it rotates around and builds this big sandbar feature. And that feature holds a lot of fish. So again, when we were fishing, and in these images, where we had a middle turbine that was mostly generating, and the water was splitting as it hit this sandbar. And one place that a lot of people know, if you're going to white bass fish, you're going to want to fish right there on that push. That push is a real key spot because the current's coming up and it disorients bait fish, and that's a real aggressive spot right on that point where current is. But in the picture that we show, which is mostly about crappie, the images we're going to show, the crappie were right here. They were along this sandbar. And they were really tightly schooled. There were almost no fish in this eddy. Each of these orange sections shows an eddy and the current direction in that eddy. So when you see that, this is where those fish actually were. They were along the slip stream. If there's a slip stream right here, they really were right along this edge, and they were tight. And you'll recognize that when you see it. Up here, there was a great big eddy, and in the center of this eddy where the water was circulating is where there was another massive group of fish, and we'll show you that. And then over here on number 3, similar right here to this eddy, they had loaded up right here in this triangle, right along the slipstream right here. So this is where you're going to want to look for fish in features like this. In the center of rotations can be groups of fish. And then on these points is another spot. And then right here again, these spots are almost identical. This one and this one, 2 and 3, are almost identical. The fish hold right here at the beginning of the slipstream where it cuts and divides and turns into an eddy. Then the last spot that I want to show you is right here in the mouth of a creek. And right here along the slipstream, right on the edge, is where a monstrous school of crappie was sitting. So I hope that helps you understand what it is that you have to look for fish. And you can see that there were almost no fish in any of these other regions. The fish were extremely concentrated. We're looking at them on a graph. We couldn't tell what they were. That's why we dropped the camera down, so that we could kind of analyze and figure out what was going on. So I hope that this helps you understand how to look and find fish in a river, what kind of conditions you're looking for. And again, as a different turbine turns on or gates open up, that totally changes the dynamic in the tail race or in a river section where there's not a turbine that's generating. But look for those eddy intersections where the slipstream meets the eddy again, and where the water is dead you'll find fish, the pushes you'll find fish, and then again right here on these corners. Hope that helps.